enthusiasm is correct. So we don't do bios around here because those are for squares, but we did ask Wonder Dave some questions. The first question we asked is, what is your favorite poem right now? Answer, Raisins by Natalie Diaz from her book When My Brother Was an Aztec. Why are you a poet? It makes me happy. What advice would you give someone attempting to write their first poem? Wonder Dave says, don't stress about how good the poem is while you're writing it. You can always edit later. What is your favorite word? Spatula. Oh. And least favorite, boylesque. So, Wonder Dave is absolutely incredible. Please clap all the way to the stage for our feature Wonder Dave.
Those are boots.
They are boots. You can applaud for my boots, please. Laverne Cox, star of Orange is the New Black, was interviewed recently. Yeah, she's great, right? Her and I wear the same brand of boots. I was super I was like, I'm so cool now! Finally, a celebrity I care about wears something I like. Boy, I do hate the word boylesque, especially I host a burlesque show and I do burlesque. And it has the word boil in it, and that's gross. And two, I don't think that me taking off my clothes for the entertainment of other people knows a gender. That's all I'm saying. Call yourself whatever the fuck you want. I mean,
Thank you.
good on you if you are a boylesque performer or any other type. That's my 2 cents. If I were Harry Potter, I would wake up in the morning and think, I must find the Horcruxes to fulfill the prophecy to defeat Lord Voldemort. Things are not so spelled out for this guy. If I were Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I would wake up in the morning and think, what should I do today? I guess I'll go slay some vampires since it is in my official title and all. If I were the last Airbender, I would wake up and think, why did they cast all white people in my movie?
Yes, thank you.
Oh well, guess I'll go master the 4 elements and defeat the Fire Nation. If I were Sailor Moon, I'd wake up in the morning and try to stop Queen Beryl from doing whatever it is Sailor Moon villains are trying to accomplish. It's a little confusing. I would also be confused as to why whenever I'm speaking English, the lesbian sailor couple refer to each other as cousins. Also messed up. If I were Frodo Baggins, I'd be like, are we fucking there yet? But screw those heroic jerks, because I am not them. I wake up in the morning and think, dear God, why am I risen before the sun? Or, dear God, why do I have to pay rent? Or, dear God, why must I wake so early that my brain forgets I'm pretty much an atheist? My point is, why must I wake each morning not knowing my ultimate destiny? Why is each step I take a step towards my mundane restaurant job as opposed to a step on my path to defeating my nemesis in an act of dark vengeance for the good of all mankind? Instead, I have spent most of my life giving mankind food, which is neutral good, I suppose. My point is, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and fiction has failed me. This is perhaps adulthood's first great disappointment. The second disappointment is that if you ever do something great, the credits do not start rolling. You have to keep doing shit afterwards. And at this point, I think that maybe it would have been a good idea to end the poem on that line about disappointment. It could have been a sick closer, but it was kind of a downer. And perhaps, I think that maybe I want to turn this poem into an uplifting poem about personal growth, but that shit is not my scene, y'all. Then, I think that maybe this meandering discussion about endings I typed down and decided to read to you, audience, is in fact the perfect metaphor for my current state of being. However, if this is the perfect metaphor the universe has deigned to give me, I feel a little ripped off. And just when I think I won't be able to find an ending to this poem, I find one. In fiction. Because sometimes life is corny. I remember the immortal words of Stephanie Brown. She was the fourth Robin and the third Batgirl in case my previous references have been far too accessible. In the final issue of her canceled comic book series, she says, "It's only over if you want it to be." Here we go. Brian Q. Miller Batgirl is on sale for like 99 cents an issue on Comixology right now. So check it out. It's actually pretty dope. And the quote is from it. I clasped onto baby pictures in lockets, jealous of the possibilities another life could have offered me. One night, I took a chance. She was the biggest gamble I ever lost. Over fried chicken, I asked her if she would like to have sex. Her front teeth clipped neatly away from the bone. She asked why. I said to say I tried it. She said yes. She was the Super Bowl, and all I needed was a ring. Kind of funny, I suppose. Years later, she married a hillbilly whose scruffy chin raked against my neck. He bit down while she watched. When he became uncomfortable, I turned my back towards him, placed his hand on my hip, ran his fingers across my scalp, whispered, "Think of me as a girl." I looked at her, said nothing, meant to say, "You are the reason I am doing this." His wedding ring was a lawnmower blade at my hairline, her smiling, sharp, and beautiful. She never understood I did not want him, just a sliver of what they had together. I split open into a perfectly manicured lawn. Yeah, that was significantly less fun than the first poem. I know. I get it. This is from the 30-30 I just did. My prompt was to write about things I saw on the internet, which is a great prompt to give yourself, because when you're fucking around on the internet, you actually write instead. Just it. It's called Born of Adversity But Made with Love, a poem for Natalie W. In 1985, one of my friends had been assigned the cruel moniker, The Toilet, by her classmates. That year for Halloween, she, aided by her father, fashioned her a toilet costume. The lid of the toilet lifted so you could store candy in the bowl. She says her costume was born of adversity but made with love. She calls winning the costume contest a loaded memory. Even in adulthood, she does not pretend at a false casual nature. This is my favorite thing about that friend. She does not pretend to have no fucks to give. The lesson here, I think, is that we're humans birds. We would not always be the eagle with its graceful soaring. Sometimes, we would be chickens fluttering just far enough away from a fox's jaw or a lean, gawky flamingo embarrassing in all our fuchsia hues. Beauty without the pretense of grace, that is a good thing, maybe the best thing. My friend, she cares with her whole heart and does brave things anyway. And lo, before them appeared a man in very tight pants. Pants so tight the outline of their bulge would indelibly make its mark upon a generation of young nerds forever scripting their lives into a film entitled My Adolescent Sexual Awakening, starring David Bowie's crotch in the labyrinth. Also featuring Namor the Submariner and Jeff Goldblum. Lots of Jeff Goldblum. David Bowie was tall, lean, clever, glamorous, a peacock of a man. Young me, absorbed in the worlds of goblins and elves, felt decidedly peahen in my ordinariness. With his sly smile, he obliterated any sway the saccharine songs the new kids on the block might have had. The bubblegum goodness of the late 80s never stood a chance against Jareth, the Goblin King. What kind of magic spell sparked this burning in my loins? My hormones began to dance, magic dance. I wanted to be put into a crazy maze where I would go on a journey of self-discovery, but at the heart of the maze, I would not rescue my baby brother, because babies suck. My prize would be be Jareth's kiss. We would make out with all the fervor of two scrawny dudes rubbing together to ignite our fire. I would rip open his frilly shirt, have an awkward moment while he took off his boots, and then he would use magic to tear off my clothes while he choked me a little. His evil is sexy. But it would be consensual, and he would know that my safe word is Ludo. Then, what lies beneath his tights would reveal itself unto me, and I would bask in the glory of our androgynous lord. Play with his magic balls. Sperm would fly through the room like a white barn owl in the night, and I would transcend this universe, turning fan fiction into reality, and we would be kings together forever and ever. Amen. We're going to be going back and forth on team feelings a lot, guys. So, I like to take you a lot of places. I have merchandise. I have t-shirts, CDs, books, flash drives. T-shirts are $15. Flash drives are $20. They have like a chapbook and like 20 tracks on them. The CDs are pay what you can. Fucking have stickers. Buy things from me, please. This is called Love in a Time of Dinner Theater. You were a spark plug covered in motor oil served to me on a white china plate in a dinner theater. It was a surprise. I had ordered the chicken almondine. The theater was once again showing Oklahoma. You looked at me with your greasy eye socket and you saw that I was a Thomas Kincaid painting, the light in my eyes pouring all over my snowdrift cheekbones. When you hopped into my cabin door mouth, you tasted like every pickup truck made in 1989. You chipped my tooth, caused an oil slick on my babbling brook tongue. The wind came sweeping down the plain. All the other audience members were fish. When they liked something, they flopped around like drunken sailors fucking, or fish on land, dying from not breathing. The theater was on land. They liked a lot of things. The table next to us was a group of betta fish. During intermission, they killed each other, making room for the peaceful carp to get closer to the stage. At the start of the second act, you wrenched yourself into my socket-sized throat. My uvula sparked, starting the chain reaction that sent my belly engine rumbling. The noise was so terrible, no one could hear the play. It didn't matter. All of the audience fish just sat quietly, their mouths open hotel rooms, waiting for the flies to check in. The fish weren't flopping anymore. They might have been dead. We might have been lovers. I'm sorry, I seem to have forgotten several details. Unclear. We are in a living room. We are friends in a circle laughing. I am the gay friend. I know this because I am the only gay person in the room. My friend Tim is the black friend. I know this because he is the only black person in the room. Sometimes, these things don't matter so much. We are simply in a room with our friends. We are simply the next person in line to crack a joke, to raise our cup for a toast, to laugh, to inhale deeply. Sometimes, we congregate outside the room. Outside the room, me being gay and him being black are of greater importance. Tim and I sometimes confer over our shared status as minorities. It is a pact we have, made up of raised eyebrows and pausing while we try to say something thoughtful instead of screaming. The pact is broken too often when I say something white or he says something straight. But we are kind to each other, and we try to backtrack on our own, to figure out where we stepped off the path of casual conversation and into the woods of prejudice. The other people in the room, our friends, are straight and white. We see them go on the same journey. I don't and can't know if they would consider that they had stepped into the woods were we not in the room. It is a game of Schrodinger's cat. I assume that were we not in the room, there would be no path, but instead a road with the occasional very large tree off to the side. The kind of tree that you look at from the distance of your car window and watch fade. A dead and ugly thing with gnarled branches and no leaves. We are in a room with our friends. We cannot be anything but what we are. It always matters.
How am I doing on time? Doing good. Time. Doing.
27.
What? Who? What?
Your time.
Oh, I was going with. Thank you. Okay.
Yay. That was what I wanted. Checking in on things. Yeah, sure. I'll do this one. You guys are gonna get a lot of queer poems tonight. Deal with it! Yeah. Advice for when you open your queer boy mouth. Open wide. Your mouth should sparkle. Your mouth makes glitter. Open, glitter, open. Vomit starshine. Spray twinkles. Be the Exorcist meets Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Open, swish. Make your tongue shuffleball change. Suck it up. You are a type to be cast. Scale, but not too high. Don't be the best. Play the best friend. Play the other. Be the victim. Don't bark, just bite your tongue until your mouth glistens like blood on pavement. Be a star under the loneliest streetlight. Purr. Be catty. Be sexy. And neutered at the same time. It won't drive you crazy. Hush. Lisp. Pour. Pour glitter down their throats. Let flashy erupt like a sequined volcano. At first, it will look like Judy Garland's shoes crawling onto their feet. Then, cement blocks of moon dust. Then, a Hudson River of disco ball. Open your mouth. Erupt. Drown them in drag and name yourself Pompeii. So I went to my first poetry slam in 2001. That was a long time ago. And there are tropes in slam. One of those tropes is mostly dudes write poems in which they save, or sometimes don't save, a lady. I don't always like these poems. But when I see something, I think to myself, maybe I should try that. Here it is. Broken girl, I love you. I met a lady on Match.com and our interests matched up. She loved getting obliterated till she blacked out and shat herself, sharing heroin needles and kittens in hats. I love all those things, except needles. I was glad to hear that she believed in sharing. You can't just go around forgetting what you learned in kindergarten. On our first date, we sat on her couch, which was covered in cat hair and crunched with the cum of all the truckers she'd tricked that week. As I watched her inject speed directly into her labia, I asked, "What made you this way?" "Stephanie, when I was a little girl." She had an unplaceable accent. Her voice wandered off. I said, "It's okay. I am a male poet, and you are a broken girl. Saving you is my purpose. I have a total boner for this stuff." She buried her face against my shoulder. Each sob was a squeeze of the sponge that was her head. Unfortunately, her dirty hair felt like the green side of the sponge. I decided to continue saving her whilst we took a nice warm bath. As I shoveled the rats out of her tub, I began to believe in love again.
Tell me your story.
Stroking her pierced nipple as a ring of her own filth formed a ring around the tub, I began to see the ring of our marriage. I was ready to be the Vietnam veteran of her heart. As my palm smeared against the nub of her clitoris, I began to feel her napalm orgasm. I thrust the dull steak knife of my penis, cutting into her warm, fly-covered meat curtains. We were having mediocre sex. Tell me your story.
I watched Full House at the age of 8. My real name isn't Stephanie. I just... Shh. You will always be my Stephanie. Thank you, hero of my heart and pussy. When I was a young puppy in the kingdom of childhood, my mother and stepfather refused to buy me roller skates.
That blows.
Yeah, totally. Then they wouldn't buy me a bicycle. We didn't have a car. I never even had a stroller. No wheels! My crazed mama would screech.
What about a unicycle, like a compromise? Tears poured forth, the river of sadness cascaded across her track marks, which became a rainbow from which sprang a single daisy. She wept out the words, I could never break the cycle. I finished for her, because you never had a cycle of your own. I took the metaphorical noose from around her neck, wrapped it in gold tinsel, and made her a halo. I knew she had been saved. I walked out of her apartment like the fireman in a slow-motion dramatic scene, except I wasn't carrying her. I abandoned her, knowing she would understand. I am a male poet, and there are a lot more women to save.
You're amazing.
Thank you. This is my last poem. Oh, hey, I'm doing a show up in Everett tomorrow, Everett Poetry Night. Yeah, please come. You can go to wonderdave.org. That is my website, and it lists the things I'm doing. Also doing Portland on Sunday, but that's kind of far. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know your life. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Homophobia. Homophobia, the fear of homosexuals, but what exactly is there to be afraid of? Let's say, one day, you're shopping at the Mall of America with your teenage son and you spot a homosexual.
This homosexual will immediately drag your son to the nearest Banana Republic, fill him up with pills and booze until he's little more than a walking, lisping episode of Sex in the City. And he's totally a Samantha.
Just because your all-American Wally Cleaver of a son sees some fashionista screaming queen doesn't mean he'll turn gay. One day, you might need to drop your husband off at the doctor for a prostate exam. Just because the doctor happens to be gay.
The gay doctor will, of course, start out nice enough, gently massaging her husband's prostate with his index and middle fingers. But before long, it'll turn into a full-blown physical fisting, and you'll notice your husband has new friends named Bruce that always wear leather chaps.
Just because your husband sees a gay doctor doesn't mean you'll have to run to the Smitten Kitten for a set of anal beads. Your sex life will remain as vanilla as possible, every Wednesday night like clockwork. And gentlemen, you have it on my honor. It is safe to send your wife to the Home Depot to pick up some grout.
Sure, it's safe, until she meets Lou, the Home Depot's grouting and cock expert, a woman with very large thumbs. Faster than you can say Tegan and Sarah, you'll be booted out of the house and replaced by a belt sander and a vibrator shaped like a dolphin.
The Home Depot is simply a quality home improvement superstore, not some queer meat market.
The Home Depot is the Sodom and Gomorrah of modern times. You might as well buy the wifey pool a one-way ticket to the Isle of Lesbos. And you, sir, are not safe there either. The place is crawling with gay do-it-yourselfers. Stick to Menards, or else.
Gay people are everywhere.
Because they're taking over. Every time one of the gays does your wife's hair, he's just filling her up with chemicals so that she'll lactate homo milk into the mouths of our babes. And soon, they will raise a twee gay army, and we'll all be forced to bow down before the might of the rainbow flag.
And there is nothing you can do to stop it, bitches.